And we are live with another episode of Comic Talk. Is that show brought to you by the Keeg, where we talk about this week's new comic book releases. For those of you who don't know, new comics come out on Wednesdays, and we have 24 hours to read as much as we can and talk about it here on a Thursday night. I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and today is Halloween. It is Thursday, October 31st, 2024, and we're going to talk about all the comics that we read this week. DC, Marvel, Image, whatever. Distillery, all the comics that we read this week. And I'm your host, and it's not just me. We also got guest Kody, aka Kody Collects. Kody, what's up, man?
Thanks for having me on, buddy. Glad to be back. I did my homework. I
Yeah.
got the issues read right here. Got them right next to me. Glad to be joining you on this Halloween episode, although we're not dressed up at all. I kind of
I'm gonna dress up
didn't even think
later.
about it.
I'm gonna give you a hint on what I'm dressing up as. I'm wearing a shirt that has some sort of apparition slash spirit on it, and then we're saying no, no, you cannot come here, you apparition slash spirit. I will not be intimidated by your poltergeist like form, as the song goes.
Okay, so you're telling me you have a costume change in the middle of this thing.
No, I have a costume change
Okay,
after this. I'm gonna dress up like a Ghostbuster. I got my Ghostbuster outfit for tonight.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
We could have dressed up, man. If you told me to dress up, I might have.
it's all right.
Maybe.
It's all right. Every so often, well, not every so often, once a year, there's a comic talk that falls very close to Halloween, and this year might be the first
Mm,
comic talk that falls on Halloween.
on the
Um,
day, yep.
and so uh we didn't need to dress up. Is this a visual show? If you're watching us live, you're watching us the live stream on twitch.tv /the Keeg Show or youtube.com /the Keeg Show. But if you're listening to the podcast, that's all audio, and that's wherever you get your podcast from. So you won't be able to see us anyway, you know? But
Power of the internet, man.
yeah. Some people tune in on the live stream, and some people listen to it afterwards, and we're here to support the two different types of people that do that.
Live's tough, man. Being live's tough.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about being live. I'm seeing 8 people watching us live. Nobody's in the chat. Let us know you're out here. It is Halloween. Let us know if there's any spooky, scary comics that you guys are reading out there, or, just your favorite comic, overall. Doesn't have to be spooky or scary. Um,
That was the cool thing with this week because for those that I mean comic fans might know, right? But this was the fifth Wednesday. That's a classic little light week usually from the publishers, but seems like a lot of publishers were saving their Halloween releases for this week. So got a lot of spooky stuff to talk about for sure.
Yeah, because so people out there may or may not know is that like DC and Marvel sometimes do like anthology books based off of holidays, right? So easy go to is like a Halloween anthology book. So Marvel had Crypt of Shadows that came out a couple weeks ago. DC had I Know What You Did Last Crisis. I think that was their big one. But they also had DC Horror Presents,
Right.
and other like spooky titles, sure. Um, but what's funny is like yeah, on a fifth on a month that has 5 Wednesdays, um, like there's normally a lot of like anthology books or specials, or they do like an annual.
Mm,
So it kind of lucked out that October had that, right? It kind of writes itself.
yeah, yeah.
Do you like if there's a fifth Wednesday of the month, do you not go on that Wednesday?
Nah, I go every Wednesday, brother. I got a whole tradition, man. Got a whole I go right when the store opens on Wednesday. But I'm lucky because I work from home, so I can uh I can bug out whenever and hit up the LCS. Also, dude,
Uh-huh.
I'm known for getting a hot dog every Wednesday too. There's like a hot dog place nearby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to become a regular. That's kind of my goal. So I'm going every Wednesday around the same time. We're gonna try to get it so when I walk in, they just have my hot dog ready. That's the goal.
Are you new to your comic place?
I am relatively, yeah, relatively. I think since I was last on, it's been the same. But within the since May we moved states, so it's been pretty new.
Oh.
Mm.
If
So
I'm with saying this live, what state did you live in and what state are you in now?
yeah, yeah. So I used to live in Rhode Island, which Rhode Island only has two LCSs, believe it or not, maybe three. I never went to the third one. It's kind of out of the way. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm living in Maine, where I think we have. also 3 LCSs, maybe
Okay.
4, so somewhere further up north or something like that. But I'm lucky. I live like a minute away from my current one, like a minute or two or three.
That I mean
We'll
that
say
it's always
5, just to
nice to
not dox
have
me.
it's always nice to have like a local comic shop that's like close by.
Yeah, for sure.
Not everybody has that, which is weird because I'm in California. I'm in Southern California, right? We're talking the most populated state. I'm in the most populated area, right? Like of the most populated state. We got a bunch of comic shops. We have multiple
Right.
in my small I live in like a small town suburb, right? And so, but like we got a Cal State here, and we got like maybe three. Well, okay, in a 10-mile radius, we probably have 5 or 6 comic shops.
Right. So you're just feasting. I mean, you have like so many choices,
I
so
mean,
many
I go to
options.
one specifically, right? Everybody has a
Right.
favorite.
But you can
Um,
like make the rounds. That's always a fun day, you make the
yeah.
comic book shop and
Well, then I mean, I have a choice, right? Do I like the
yeah.
people that work at the shop? Because that can influence me, right?
Mm,
If they're competing with each other, then yeah, which one am I connecting with? Which I do recommend to people: find a comic shop you connect with,
mm.
but not
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
has that luxury.
Nah, for sure. Yeah. Like I'm definitely like being in Maine, it just so happens in both states I've lived in recently, I was like within 5 minutes of a comic shop. So been super lucky there.
Do you like your comic shop?
I do, I do. It was a little tough, little growing pains trying to set up my pull, because
Mm,
I'm behind by, 2 months, 3 months, whatever they have to order.
yeah.
Um, and my shop is very picky on what they order extras of. So like, sometimes they don't have any extra Batmans. So like if you're not subbed to Batman, they just will not have.
Why? I thought Batman's like a bestseller all the time.
I know it, bro. It's kind of weird. But whatever the shop's got to do to survive or whatever. I mean,
You would figure
but
they would stack up on like the big things, right? Batman, Spider Man, X Men, right?
yeah, so like, you might have like but there wasn't like when I was trying to get set up, and like I was saying, I was coming in right when the stores open. They
Mm,
never had an extra Batman for me, which I thought was like interesting. Um, but yeah. So like that's just an example. So like for a while my pull, I couldn't even do my new comic book day videos for like a month just because they didn't have anything for me.
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember because I met you in person. I had seen your stuff online, obviously, but like I met you in person at Chicago Comic Con. What month was that? Like March or
I
something?
th
No, April. That was
I think
April.
I think it was April. Yeah, so I like moved like right after that. That was a pretty busy time of the year for sure. So yeah.
Yeah. And so what was funny is that like I invited you on the show and like you had to wait for a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, because I wanted to be on, but like that week, the shop wouldn't have anything for me, so I wouldn't have anything to talk about if I was
Yeah.
on. But
And you were like behind and stuff, but now you're caught up, right?
now I'm caught up. Yeah, so I'm very, yeah, and this show helps a lot too. You got to do your homework and be up to date on everything. But other than that, yeah, I've been caught up on my singles. It's been nice. I know some people that are drowning on, you got a stack about yay big, but
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Shout out to anyone out there who's watching. Let us know in the chat that you're out there watching, because we want to know like what you guys are up to. Also, if you're listening to the podcast, then like, comment, subscribe, follow, write a review, do your thing. It always helps to know who's out there and whatnot, even if it's just a what's up, you know.
yeah.
Um, I want to know what your pull list was, your reading list for this week. And I always fluctuate. I'm like, is this show like an inside baseball sort of show? Yes, we talk about like really specific comic book stuff, right? But the goal is that like people can jump in and kind of get acclimated to what like comics are, what's
Mm,
good, what's not good, what are some like key words, key phrases that we're using, like pull list or whatever. But like new comics come out on Wednesdays, and we have 24 hours to read what we need to read. And I'm assuming there's books that you got that you haven't read because you just couldn't read it in 24 hours.
right.
I mean, is that the case, or do you get everything done in like 24 hours?
No, it's true. So like usually a series like if I'm pulling in singles, but I'm like saving for like a binge read.
Mm-hmm.
Like a great example is oh geez, almost knocked everything off my so like Batman Long Halloween, Last Halloween. I
Yeah.
was like planning on doing a read of the previous series again
Mm,
before I jump into this.
okay.
Um so that's something that I'm gonna save for later. That
I
that's
was
a great
wondering.
point
I
though,
was
because
wondering why you didn't read it.
No, for sure, right? Because that's something. I mean, you got to get you got to at least buy it, right? Just for the Tim Sale cover, you got to pay
Yeah.
your respects. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but yeah, that'll be something I jump into at some point. I think that one. It's kind of weird the way they. I guess there was one available for Halloween, so they're doing something right. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Because they're 2 issues in. I just find the titling weird because it's not. The first
long
one's called
Halloween,
Batman the Long Halloween. That's the first
right?
miniseries, which wasn't, I mean, it was just supposed to be,
Just call it the last Halloween, right?
you
But
know? Yeah. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
the
yeah.
second one is Batman Dark Victory,
Right,
which, if you were just paying attention to the title, you wouldn't know the two are related.
right,
And then we have Batman the Long Halloween, the Last Halloween, right? Like,
right.
it's just the last Halloween.
It should just be, yeah. I guess they're hoping they're banking on the fact that you remember what the long Halloween is. I guess it's got that's a Batman thing. It's got some cachet. You know what I'm saying? It's got like
Yeah.
a year one type of thing. You kind of
Especially
know.
now, because there have
Yeah,
been animated movies. Every Batman live action adaptation takes something from Long Halloween.
yeah, and it's always on best Batman runs you should read and
Oh yeah,
top lists and that sort of thing. So
yeah. Let's go through your list. Let's.
yeah, yeah.
I prepped all the images so anyone watching the live stream will be able to see. Um, but yeah, let's compare.
Okay, cool. So do we start with pick of the week here? Or we do that later, I
No,
guess.
we'll pick it. We'll say that later. Keep it a secret
Okay,
ish. Whatever. It
gotcha. Cool.
doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so I got, got to get Ultimate X-Men #8,
Mm-hmm.
classic, Peach Momoko. I did get the Poison Ivy Swamp Thing Feral Trees #1.
Mm-hmm.
G. Willow Wilson, great stuff there.
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley from Boom Studios. I feel like that's a series getting slept on. I feel like more
Okay.
people need to be talking about that one.
Yeah.
Action Comics 1073 Mark Waid, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Got to do it. Um, yeah, I think that's it for my actual pulls. I mean, there were things that were provided to me by publishers.
Well, yeah. I mean,
So
what came out this week that you read? There's a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
things.
So I also got we have Come Find Me,
Mm-hmm.
an autumnal offering from Distillery. It's a horror anthology, so pretty cool that they had it, ready to go for this week. And then two things from Mad Cave Studios. They hooked me up with the new Cullen Bunn series. We have Hexiles #1,
Mm-hmm.
really cool spooky read. And then Hour of the Wolf, which is a part of like a whole, I guess, universe they're doing over there at Mad Cave.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Um, I normally say that like I read mostly DC and Marvel, and then like it takes
Yep.
some convincing to get me to read elsewhere. But I would say like this week I read a good amount of kind of not mainstream stuff. Mostly because
Nice.
like DC was like small, right? Like DC had
Right.
7 books that they offered this week.
Gotcha.
Actually 6 plus Wonder Woman Uncovered, which isn't really a comic, right? It's just like the comic art or the cover art. And then Marvel though had 17 or 7 15 16 17 books this week. And so they were on a normal thing. But what did I read? I read half of Action Comics 1073. I didn't get to finish in time. Ultimate X-Men #8, The Nice House by the Sea #4, Amazing Spider-Man 60, Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween #2, Wolverine Revenge #3, NYX 4, Captain America 14. It Happened on Hyde Street, Devour, which is a one shot from Image Comics, Hyde Street slash Ghost Machine imprint that they're doing. Nightclub 2 #3, which is one of Mark Miller's books, which used to be at Image Comics, now it's at Dark Horse Comics. And the same thing applies to Mark Miller's The Magic Order 5 #2. So, you know, I didn't get to Feral. Feral came out this week, right? And so I didn't get to read it, but
That's a series that I'm gonna get just because I have the Stray Dogs trade paperback. So I try to get the trade paperbacks, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Line them up.
Stray
Yeah.
Dogs is so good, but I recommend it to everybody, but it's not for everybody because of the animals involved, right?
Yeah, heavy
It's so
subject
good,
matter for
but
sure.
it's very Guardians of Galaxy Volume 3. Like, are you rereading? How many times can you reread it? I own it. It's great, but how many times? You know?
Right, right.
Um, Shout out to Merlin the Hermit out there. Not sure if you're tied up at the moment, but bark twice if you're in Wisconsin. Um, and anyone on our YouTube chat, Twitch chat, that sort of thing. So out of all of that, you read a good amount. And here's a question: do you read a lot of non DC, non Marvel comics?
I do, yeah, I do. I don't know, I read a lot of indies for sure. Like
Yeah.
for a while there, I was pulling a lot of Image. Image is probably my favorite publisher of all time. I
Do they
feel like they
count
just
as
have a
indie?
lot of
I mean,
heat.
that's the question now. Do they count as independent?
Yeah, I guess that was something. I remember I got a hate comment one time, and some guy was trying to argue with me about that. I think as long as it's creator owned, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not owned by a corporation. Like, it's still like I don't know. Like, what's a good example? Like Kieran Gillen's new series, The Power Fantasy. Like, I'm pretty sure Image doesn't own any
Right.
part of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just published it.
Right.
So it's still Kieran Gillen's idea. If he wanted to make a movie, it's still his idea. So
Right.
I don't, to me, because where do you draw the line then? Because then like is Boom Studios, they're doing the same thing that Image is, right? Like the same kind of deals. Like maybe you own the rights, but we'll publish it physically.
Unless it's an
Um,
IP.
right, unless you're working on like Transformers and stuff,
Yeah.
obviously, because that wouldn't be Daniel Warren Johnson doesn't own Transformers. That'd be cool though, but
Right.
you know,
Right.
right,
I mean, it used to just be that yeah, indie was just the comic companies that weren't DC or Marvel, but
right,
there's a landscape that's kind of shifting, especially with DC. So DC Comics, when you write for DC Comics, you don't own the characters, obviously, right? And you don't even own the storylines that you
right.
create. At the very least, you would expect, like, sure, you don't own Batman, but you own and get credit or residuals from the storyline, but you don't. Like when they
Right,
use the storyline in a movie,
right.
no,
Like what's Gore the God Butcher, classic example.
right?
Jason Aaron, you didn't see a dime for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um the Null, I was just in Venom 3 or whatever. I don't think Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman are rolling in it because
No,
of that.
no.
Um
And it's up to each individual production company to figure out whether they want to kick some to it. So like Sony could choose to give money to
right.
them. Marvel, like Marvel Studios or DCEU, or well, DC Studios is I think the parent company. But the point being is like, do they actually pay? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. Like going back to the independent thing, I guess like what would you call Image Comics? Like what would the word be used? So like I think if you have the big two, you have indies like independents, and then you have creator owned that are like crowdsourced, Kickstarter. That's how my mind kind of works.
Yeah.
But like if you don't call Image indie, then what would you call it? I'm just
So
curious.
so here's the thing. It's like, okay, so originally DC and Marvel were DC and Marvel, and then indie was everything else. But then Image got really popular and really successful, and so it was almost like, oh, if you're calling yourself indie comics, there's an elitism to it. Where are you too successful to be indie? But that's also elitist, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. Image is doing really good. Are they
Right.
still
I
in
think
that
the heart
indie
and soul
bracket?
of it, right, is still like,
Creator owned
you
stuff.
take it back. Yeah, exactly. Take it back to creator owned, Image starting up, all the guys rebelling against the big two sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think the heart and spirit is still there for, even if it's an Image series, it's still, you know,
Right.
it's still creator owned, it's still creator driven, and they decide. Like, I don't think, Image Comics can be like Dan Warren Johnson in The Moon is Following Us. She has to not be, you know,
Right.
dead or whatever. Like I don't think they can make those types of
No.
decisions. I think it's yeah.
And that's the attractive quality of like working for someone like that, right? So that makes sense, but then there's also like the idea that like other companies used to not have shared universes. Like it used to be very rare. Like, but now they're creating like independent like creator-owned shared universes like the Massive Verse or Ghost Machine over, both of which are universes in Image Comics. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but DC has Vertigo now. They brought it back, and Vertigo
I
is
like
now
this.
creator-owned comics, which is very progressively forward of DC Comics.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's I don't know if you're intentionally setting up a segue potentially,
Do it.
but yeah,
Pull
no,
the
I think
trigger.
the
Pull the
news.
trigger. What's your pick of the week?
Listen, I mean, we're talking about Vertigo coming back, the flagship title under the Vertigo banner,
Mm-hmm.
Nice House by the Sea.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because it's like going to be retroactively a Vertigo title. So like they're going to re-release issues number one, two, three with the Vertigo label. So kind of interesting. But yeah, pick of the week for sure, dude.
Okay.
James Tynion the fourth, just killing it on this series.
Nice House by the
So
Sea, issue number 4, right?
right, yep. As creator owned as it gets, man. I don't think DC is telling James Tynion what to do here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't think they could rein him in even if they wanted to. So
I I think it's really cool that they're doing that. And then here's the question though. So Nice House by the Sea is a sequel series to Nice House on the Lake. Is Nice House on the Lake retroactively Vertigo?
yeah, I mean this gets into a whole can of worms. We could have a whole you and me are nerdy about it
Yeah.
like this, so we
Do
could
they
we could
do they
definitely
need to
have it.
re-release it to then be
Yeah,
functionally
I
probably,
mean
right?
it's an issue that I run it keeps me up at night. I'm being honest with you, dude, because you have all these different labels underneath DC. You got the Vertigos coming back. You got Elseworlds. You got Black Label. You got
Yeah.
DC Horror is technically like its own thing. So
Right.
like
You're
all
also
these different,
Marvel Max
which
Max Comics might be coming back because it came back
right,
for
yeah,
Get Fury.
right, yeah. So it's kind of like whenever like a new series um comes out, it's like, oh, which DC, which bucket is it gonna fall into under DC? And then yeah, they're just bringing adding even more with the Vertigo label. Um, so to me, but I think Vertigo is gonna be like I don't think you're gonna see Batman in any Vertigo title. I think that's gonna be
Still just Black Label. Does Black Label still exist?
exactly.
That's the
Exactly. So
question.
like it's kind of like where does Black Label kind of live if Elseworlds is a thing and Vertigo's a thing? I think you still keep Black Label um as still like a an adult oriented um
Out
with
of
licensed
continuity sort of thing.
characters. Yeah, it can be out of continuity. So but then it's like, okay, what's the difference between that and Elseworlds? But to me,
Right.
Elseworlds is like more fantastical for all ages.
Like
Well,
a bigger twist on the
right.
continuity. Then let's just say, did you read Robin the Boy Wonder? Or it was just called Boy
Oh,
Wonder?
yes, I did read that.
So
Yes.
that was like,
Juniba.
yeah, it was great. And it wasn't adult, but it was Black Label. And I think the reason why is because of what is in continuity with the All Ghouls.
Sure. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the big thing why it was Black Label. Because they were like, did Talia and Damien, or did Talia and Bruce have relations out of love? Was it a test tube baby? Was it, like there's all those continuity things, and it's like, whatever. So,
So it's like an issue that people have. Like if a Black Label series maybe isn't true to different characterizations that people are familiar with. To me, dude, I treat Black Label as out of continuity. Like maybe it can be, but I wouldn't be so strict about it, right? Like when
yeah,
the Human Target came out, I believe that was a Black Label series from Tom King,
yeah.
and everybody was so mad about how like Guy Gardner was portrayed in that, and it's like it's an else. Just act like it's an elsewhere.
But
Like
that's the
can't
problem,
things
though.
be
Where's the line?
right? At one hand it bothers me, but then it's like we can't be,
Yeah,
it can't keep it. We got to go to sleep at some point. You know what I mean?
yeah.
We can't be. So I think if it's a good story, right, then it just stands on its own. But I do get, in continuity when there's mess ups like that. That does bug me for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but different characterizations in a Black Label or an Elseworlds, water off a duck's back, dude. I'm not too
Okay.
worried about it.
Give me your quick thoughts about your pick of the week. Nice House.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So,
Nice
oh,
House by
like I
the
was
Sea.
saying, right,
Because
right. I didn't
I'm
even
up to
explain.
date
Nice
now
house.
too. I'm reading it too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember because last time I was on, I think this was also the week that Nice House came out. I believe you weren't reading the series at that point.
No, I was.
Okay.
I
It
was
was
because
maybe
this
it
was
was
back in
Maggie.
August that you, so it would have
Okay.
been issue 1 of By the Sea. I may not have
Gotcha.
read it that week. That's probably what it
Got you.
was.
Had you previously read Nice House on the
Yeah, but
Okay.
I got into that late. I got
I got you.
into because again, the cool part about this show is that like I get to take a recommendation. Like we all get to take recommendations from each other, right? So
Right.
I think I was maybe like there was like 3 issues out already of Nice House on the Lake, and I was just like I didn't jump into it because I'm like I don't know what it is. But then when I heard
Yeah.
people recommending it, then I caught up. Then I read every month until it went on hiatus after issue 6, and then
Yep.
I was on it every single month after
I
that.
got you. Yep. Something insane happens in this that if you are a fan of like body horror, um,
I'm not, but I read it, so it is what it is.
yeah, it's very kind of just terrifying. So yeah, just
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we're getting villains, is essentially what it is.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense when you have so not to go over the whole premise or whatever, but when you have the top of the cream of the crop people that want to live, be immortal and be the last ones alive, I guess you might, they might be a little unhinged. So I guess it's not
Right.
too surprising that it turns out they're a little villainous for
Right.
sure.
Right. Because they're the idea that if we represent the best of society, but there's another essentially colony of people who just are just like whatever people, like shouldn't we it's that elitist attitude of like, I'm the best doctor there is. I obviously should live in the apocalypse. But why is this guy
Yep.
who has nothing to add to society living? Um this book's really good, so I'm very excited for what's to come. And I
Yeah, it's just the slowest burn. Character work is going crazy.
yeah.
A lot of characters to keep track of, like in your head or whatever, but
Yeah, there's too many.
it's yeah, but yeah, a lot of like a lot of backstory, relationship, high school drama.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely the more we're peeling the layers, James Tynan, you got me hooked for sure.
I I don't think every comic needs to be made into a movie or a TV show, but I think that Nice House is made to be like it is so like do like a prestige like HBO Max. HBO Max should
Yeah,
definitely do a Nice House series.
yeah. I mean, Tynan's making moves on the other media front, right? He's doing, I think they're doing like something's killing the children's show and all
Mm,
sorts of things. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to eventually see this on the small screen for
yeah,
sure. I agree with you. Like sometimes you read a series and it's like, oh, I don't want them to touch this. It should just stay a comic. This is one that I wouldn't be, too mad if they adapted it into other media for sure. I think it's such a cool idea,
yeah,
just on concept alone. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, yeah. Um, I think my pick of the week is going to be for the sake of this show. There was a couple of really good ones that I liked this week. For the sake of this show, Wolverine Revenge #3. And the are you reading Wolverine Revenge?
no, that's one that I'll definitely check out when it's on digital or a trade because I know what is it, Jonathan Hickman, right, is
Yeah,
writing it. So
yeah.
yeah.
Hickman's writing it, and which is weird because it doesn't give you Hickman vibes. It gives you like I'm trying to think of a writer that like it gives me vibes of. It's very dark and dour, like it's very
Hmm.
like pessimistic, and that's not Hickman's vibe. So like like I wouldn't be surprised if this was like Tom King, if it was a
Mm,
Tom King end of the world sort of story, sure. But it's Hickman, and the basic premise is that because I think somebody kills, it has to do with Magneto and Asteroid M, and the humans fight back, and there's an EMP pulse that essentially takes out half of the world's electricity, and and a lot of like governments have shut down and everything, right, because of this thing. And so Wolverine goes to investigate, and some people die, some people don't die, and now he's tracking down people who wronged him, essentially. So I don't want to spoil anything, but it's it is just really good. and it just doesn't seem like Hickman, but it is.
Does it have like for me Hickman's got the classic like reveals and that sort of thing. Does this have any crazy like page turners or
Not really. Like it's I mean there are really cool ideas in it, but it's not like high sci-fi like he's used to, right? We don't have
gotcha.
infographics like he did with Krakoa. Like it's pretty straight. This is the most straightforward of a Hickman story.
Okay.
It's the apocalypse. It's like the like for most of the world does not have any power. Wolverine is tracking down people.
He likes the seems like he's liking the Elseworlds kind of stuff with the aliens versus Avengers too, right?
He is. I mean, that one's really good too.
Yeah, so it seems like he's just oh I forgot he did a oh I guess Doom that one shot from earlier in the year.
Oh,
I think did Hickman.
was that the one with him and Valyria at the end of the world?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was him and like Sanford Green, I think. But that's another like else to me. That's like another. It feels like Hickman's just doing a lot of Elseworld
You know
stuff too.
why? You know why I think it's the case? It's because when you write an ongoing series, you have to deal with the crossover events and everything of a shared universe. You have to like and you have to either like spin your wheels for a long time or quicken up to catch up to what's coming up,
Right,
you know?
right. So he's like in just having his own universe. He can his own toys. He can just play around with.
And he can write it
Like
ahead
I
of
guess
time,
the Ultimate Universe is the big one, right?
you
Is
know? Yeah.
right
Yeah.
where he can make his own content. Like he doesn't have to follow continuity. He can just make his own continuity
Right.
in the Ultimate Universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Um are you reading you're reading Ultimate X-Men number 8, right?
Yeah, dude, that's yeah, I'm not I don't typically pick up a lot of Marvel titles. But
Okay.
the Ultimate Universe I am picking up. So yeah, Ultimate X-Men number 8, Peach and Moko, of course.
Yeah.
Dude, this series gets better and better, man.
It
I feel
is.
like
I was not
yeah,
digging it at first. And
that's right.
I've been vocal about it, you know?
Right. So you think it's gotten a lot better
It's
since
gotten a lot better. It's gotten a
we've
lot better.
last talked?
I
Yeah.
need the team to get together, and that's what they're doing, so okay, fine.
Right. I feel like from like there was like a point where I was like, okay, now we're kicking. Maybe like issue 5 or
It was
6 or
issue
something,
5.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, now we're rocking and rolling, dude. Got a ton of members of the team. I guess this is this supposed to be like a Cyclops kind of?
Yeah.
Is
So
that the
so
vibe?
funny is the girl with the iPad. I had to say this to who did I say this to? Ambrosia. I think it was Ambrosia, maybe. On a
Wait, so
previous
is that the
episode.
whole thing that they're gonna be like unnamed, right? Because it just says Nico's friend in the front. So is that gonna be like
No, no,
it's
no,
gonna be revealed later on that
no. I mean,
they're
okay. I mean, I'm showing the covers, but no. Put that up to your camera. What do we got? Okay, so we got the front page, and it's like the breakdown, right? But that's
yeah.
Maury, right? Her name's Maury. Maury is Molly from Runaways. Like all of these
Okay.
are like normal characters, except for May Igarashi, Maystorm.
Maystorm. Is that
She's a
original?
original character that was created for the
Okay.
cover for the they did like variant covers with sidekicks that had not been made yet. Do you
Okay.
remember those variant covers?
I think so. So
Yeah.
it's a Peach Momoko original though, is what you're saying.
Um, I think she did the original cover for with Maystorm, and people were like, it was a whole line of variant covers that had sidekicks for characters that didn't have sidekicks, and so
Right.
like they were just creating, and people thought it was just going to be one-off variant covers, but now they've slowly been introducing them into continuity. So
Gotcha.
Maystorm
Yep.
is in Ultimate. Nico Minoru is also a character from Runaways. So in this, she's a mutant. Um,
Yep.
not is what's her name? Natsu Tsukishima
Yep.
is the girl with the eye patch. Um, Tsukishima is Japanese for summer.
Okay. So that's what so that's
It's
the
Scott
connection to
Summers,
the
right?
Cyclops.
Essentially,
That's
right?
cool, man.
Yeah.
See,
There's
I'm not
different
as an
things.
X-Men guy. It didn't click immediately.
Well, I was
Um,
like eye patch. The eye patch has to mean something, right?
yeah.
I was like, she's either Callisto from the
Yeah.
Morlocks. I didn't think about Scott Summers until I was like, I'm just gonna look up what the last name means, and that's what it is.
I mean, that's cool, man. I mean, this book's picking up a lot. I
Yeah,
definitely, there was one point where, I was thinking about maybe potentially dropping it at one point. But I don't think I would drop this over Black Panther. Not gonna,
Oh,
you know.
you're not a fan of Ultimate Black Panther?
It's the weakest Ultimates title for me for
Really?
sure.
Ultimate X-Men was the weakest for me.
Gotcha. I think Black Panther is like that thing needs to move, man. I think
It's
it's just
dipped. It has
this
dipped.
war, this war they keep, the war, and oh, the
Yeah.
Khonshu's over here and these powerful. It's like, dude, I just want to see
So
something happen.
in the beginning, I was saying that my like favorite was Ultimate Spider-Man. It was 10 out of 10. Black Panther started off really strong, so in the beginning it was like an
It
8
did
out of
start
it was
strong
like
for
8 out of
sure.
10 for me. It was like okay, really good. And then um Ultimate X-Men was like 5 out of 10 for me cuz I was like I don't get. And then the Ultimates, the
So
beginning of
good, dude.
I didn't like it in the beginning. I was just like
Oh,
it's just boring.
interesting, dude.
So that was my lowest.
Okay.
That was like 3 out of 10. I was just like, I don't have to even read it. But the Ultimates has gotten better. Ultimate X-Men has gotten better. And then Black Panther has dipped. So
Dipped.
I would
Yeah.
say right now, Ultimate Spider-Man still 10 out of 10. Um, Black Panther has dipped down to maybe like a 6 out of 10. Okay. Um, Ultimate X-Men is now like a 7 out of 10. And the Ultimates is probably an 8 out of 10 now.
Nice. Okay, so you're high on the Ultimates now. Dude, I love that series ever since from the start, man. I think it's so sick. I think Dennis Camp is just destroying
I didn't
that
like the
series.
lineup.
So good.
I didn't like the lineup at first. That's my problem. I thought it was just a boring lineup. It was such a boring lineup.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess I'm not so picky on the lineup. I was just waiting to see what Dennis Camp can do with them before I made a judgment on the lineup, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah. It just seemed like
Yeah.
a very boring paint by numbers Avengers lineup. It was literally Thor, Captain America, Iron Man slash Iron Lad,
Yeah.
um, Doom, whatever, I don't
Right.
care, which is Reed
There's
Richards,
there's
Ant
something
Man
to
and the
say.
Wasp. Like, okay.
Right. There's something to say about, in any universe, that's the core that comes together. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the foundation that the rest of the heroes build on. So
Yeah.
maybe
But they weren't
maybe that's like
twists.
maybe
They
that's a
weren't
callback
twisted.
is right.
That's my problem.
It's like no matter what, like even when like in the case of uh what you just said the Giant Man, Ant-Man and
Yeah.
the Wasp, right? In that case, maybe it's like even when we were trying to get it not be them, by fate it still ended up being them. You know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
no matter what you do, it's always gonna happen. Like the Avengers are always gonna be created,
Yeah.
no matter
Well, I
like
mean, I like
how hard
She-Hulk.
you try to stop it. Right?
I really
That
like
was
the
cool.
She-Hulk issue.
Yeah, I
You
thought
know,
the recent Hawkeye issue like blew me away. I thought that was so
Hawkeye.
cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm on board, man. America Chavez issue was great
Yeah.
too. So
So I'm for it now. So, it's won me over. Um, we're not running out of time, but we do have a lot to talk about. Um, are you reading Amazing Spider-Man at all?
no,
Okay, because
I
people have been talking shit on it, and it's it is what it
yeah
is.
yeah. I mean, are you still you kept up the whole time?
Yeah,
I dropped
yeah.
off before I think it was when like they said like Kamala Khan's gonna like get capped. I was like I'm
It
not
was
doing
bad.
this.
Sure, it was bad. I'm not even defending it. I'm just saying it's Zeb
Like
Wells.
worse.
Zeb Wells, he does normally write well. He does. But I think he got screwed over by Marvel editorial. That's
Oh,
my
dude, I
theory.
mean, Spider-Man editorial is classically not the best, right?
Right.
So
But I think he got
yeah.
screwed over. I don't think that some of these choices were his choices that people hate on. He's
No,
just
for
trying
sure.
to make
I
the
could see
best out
that.
of
I could see
what
that.
he's given, right?
Right. That's the thing, dude. I'm not even putting it all in Zeb well. I just think that the whole series as a whole, I'm good on that,
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
but
Um
some
this was the
some people
final
grew to
issue.
love it, sounds like, but
His actually, I'll tell you what storylines were better with Zeb Wells and in this run. The storylines that had Tombstone and his daughter and Randy Robertson and Robbie Robertson, those were the best storylines in this 60 issue run.
that makes sense, yeah.
You know, this issue ends it all, and I mean, this issue was like an epilogue issue, kind of because it kind of ended last issue. This issue was not good. It just ends just like it doesn't set up anything for the next writer, other than they have a joke. They have like a couple of pages of Rec Rap. I don't know if you know Rec Rap, but Rec Rap is like a demon. He's like Bizarro to Spider Man, but Rec Rap is to or Bizarro to Superman is like Rec Rap to Spider Man. He's like a Bizarro
Oh, he's
Spider
the
Man. You
right.
know?
He's like, is he one of the clones that's like,
No, he is a demon, and Rec Rap is just Parker backwards. He is a demon that in the Inferno arc or whatever, like one of those like demon arcs, he like looks up to Spider-Man. And so he's like Batmite meets Bizarro. If
that's
that
what I
makes
was
any
wondering if he was
sense.
more like Mixix Plixix or whatever,
Yeah,
or like
but he's like
Batman.
Batmite because he looks up to Spider-Man. And so
Okay,
he's like a joke character.
I think this is the guy I was thinking. I didn't know he was a demon. I thought he was more of a like in the clone sort of thing. 'Cause
No,
I
he's
think
a
he popped up in a miniseries I was reading. I was like, who the hell is this guy? But
he's a demon.
interesting.
Yeah, he's fun. But what happened at the end of this issue is essentially like he like gets away. He just like goes out into the whatever, and then the Zeb Wells writes. He's like, all right, this is. He's like, what did he say? He's like, he's out there, so you got to deal with him to the next writer. So like, I
Interesting.
thought that was kind of funny. It was like, all right, but other than that, it doesn't set up anything. So it is what it is.
Huh.
Um, what else did you read that was good this week?
Let me tell you, dude. G. Will Wilson coming in hot. Course Swamp or Poison Ivy's her baby, so she gets the Poison Ivy bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fan of like I'm a fan of like the green mythology and all that stuff in DC. I think like the green and the red and all that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So this focuses on that and always love a Swamp Thing, uh, heavy thing. So got Swamp Thing coming in here,
What's the
and
premise?
yeah, so essentially it's just this is something you can read out of context from the other Jewel Wilson
Yeah.
ongoing. So you can just pick this up. But essentially it's uh you know Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing are connected by the green, something's up, and they kind of just have a one night adventure where they go out and investigate it. But for me, the kind of seller was Mike Perkins and Mike Spicer, the double mics. So like the art in this thing is just
Okay, let me put the screen back to that. Okay, yeah, yeah.
it's like super detailed, like really dark, inky. I'm a fan of Mike Perkins and Mike Spicer. I think they do good stuff together. And yeah, it's just Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing going on like a one night adventure, trying to save. It turns out they're trying to save this homeless girl who's kind of taken refuge in the forest or the park nearby,
Mm.
and the trees are all kind of going crazy, and so they just go in to investigate and they try to save the girl. So, but yeah, just like a fun little. I guess it's kind of like a special, essentially, um, like an annual or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it's just a one-off story. I don't think there's gonna be a issue two or anything. So,
Okay. Oh, it's just a one shot?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
Oh,
so.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
it's kind of
Um,
like extra size. Like it's kind of a thicker one too. So,
okay. Yeah. I didn't read it, so all right.
I'd recommend checking it out if it's on like DC Universe Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
I want to talk real quick about the three non-DC Marvel books that I read this week.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I so okay, how do I put this? Image Comics has Ghost Machine, which is the imprint that has a bunch of like sub imprints, right?
Yeah, because there's the unnamed universe, which is Geiger, Junkyard Joe. Um, I guess
Is
Rook
Rook?
Exodus technically isn't in the unnamed universe. That's like in
Okay.
the future or whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's Redcoat that takes place within the unnamed universe.
Mm. So that's weird, but
So yeah,
okay, fair. I and then there's Hyde Street, which is the
yeah, which is
horror.
like a horror underneath Ghost Machine. So yeah,
Yeah. So this was a Hyde Street related one shot. I read
right.
It Happened on Hyde Street, the series, the first issue came out like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I read that, and that was really good and really interesting and super cool. And the premise of Hyde Street, did you read that one?
I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did. I didn't pick this up because I think this is available like the same time digitally,
Mm.
like through my library or something. So, but yeah, I thought High
So
Street was a cool premise.
is the premise of Hyde Street that there are essentially like demons or dead people trying to get you, like trying like that are competing against each other on ways to take your soul to the afterlife?
Yeah.
Is kind of like what it
That that
is.
that's that's how I get that's what I get from the premise too. And I guess it's like people that like deserve it, right? So like, you know, getting them back sort of thing. Like they were bad in their life. I guess I don't know what happens in Devour, but that was the vibe I got from Hyde Street, the first issue,
Yeah.
was all these people like the old lady deserved it, it turned out. It's kind of like a twist.
Oh
She was like
yeah.
poisoning people or like
She
poisoning
poisoned
her
her husband and her
husband,
child.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's that little Boy Scout demon,
Yeah.
right?
Who's like the leader, he's like leading the scoreboard or whatever. He's
No, somebody else
taking the
is.
most souls. Right, like whatever he's
Yeah.
like the other guy, Mr. Specs or whatever, was like trying to beat him and
Yeah.
right.
So I don't know. There's some really interesting dynamics that are going on. This is just a one shot, and the Boy Scout kid pops in just for a
Okay.
couple of panels, but mostly the premise of this is it's actually just really gross, and also like it's really good, but it's kind of like a Twilight Zone episode. So if you're
Right.
expecting nice things to happen or a happy ending, you don't always get a happy ending with this. So this is just a one shot, and it tells a story from beginning to end about a three generations of women, it becomes four, but three generations of women with eating disorders, essentially. And there's a
Interesting.
supernatural element to it
Like a
where,
curse.
yeah, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it, but
I got you.
but they're extremely critical on themselves, and then they're extremely critical on their daughters. So through the generations, this like the eating disorder kind of passes on. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it's there's a reveal that's pretty good. I think this one's it's a one shot. I think it's a must read.
Nice.
This
No, yeah,
almost
that's
became my pick
definitely
of the week. It was really
dang.
good.
No, yeah, I mean, listen, I like what they're doing at Ghost Machine. Definitely there's definitely some really cool stuff. I mean, they have like the horror stuff like we're talking about, the universe, of course, everybody's got to have a universe like we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
And then they have some for all ages stuff coming out later, I believe, like maybe even targeted to like young adults, like some family
for Ghost Machine.
oriented stuff. So yeah, they got a lot of stuff cooking over there at Ghost Machine. It's pretty cool. But yeah, you mind if you mind if I jump in and do an indie read
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
I read
Let's
this
talk about it.
week?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Hexiles from Mad Cave Studios, and Mad Cave Studios has been really impressing me lately. And so the this is like the newest Cullen Bunn series. So if you're familiar with horror comics at all, you might have heard the name Cullen Bunn. He's kind of a legend. Maybe not as well known as like James Tynion the Fourth, but he definitely has some series that he's known for. Like
Yeah.
I think like Harrow County, maybe that's like a popular one. But essentially, it's this dude has made this dude has a bunch of children with different women, and he passes away. So it's at this dude's funeral. All these like half siblings like meet each other for the first time, and it turns out that the dad that passed away has sold all of their souls to the devil.
Mm.
Um, so they all have like curses and powers, and they're kind of like, you know, the devils. Now that the guy is dead, they're trying to take back, you know, kill the kids, I guess, essentially.
Mm.
Uh, kind of take back their soul. Like, hey, you're dead. He still owes us, so we're gonna take you instead. Um, and the art in this is like bananas. Um, I was like, I couldn't even believe what I was seeing at
What's the publishing
some
company?
panels. So Mad Cave
Okay.
Studios, which I wasn't too familiar with them before they started sending me their stuff, but they've been impressing me lately, celebrating their 10-year anniversary.
Hmm.
Just like look at the detail. It's like some of the craziest looking gory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like ridiculously detailed and the colors are just bananas. But yeah, just a cool premise. It wasn't on my radar at all, but I'm familiar with Cullen Bunn. I know he's pretty popular. Um, So yeah, if you're like a fan of like maybe like Stranger Things or something like that, it's kind of like that vibe, like group of teenagers, um, you know,
Yeah.
together for some reason, and they gotta like learn to cooperate, I
Might be
guess.
worth me
But
giving it a shot. All right. All right.
yeah, definitely like wait for a trade or something and pick up
Yeah.
the trade. But definitely got me in the spooky mood. This came out yesterday, like we were saying. So
See, I'm not too big into horror. I can read. Okay, so I won't watch a horror movie, but when it comes to comics, I will read horror comics dependent on their premise and their like actual execution of it all, right? It has to really, like, Stray Dogs, sure. Like, it has to
Yeah.
really work, right?
I
Hyde
think I
Street
think
has been really
horror.
good.
Okay, got you there. Yeah. I think horror for me might be like my second most pulled like genre, to be
Of
honest with you. Like
comics?
I feel like yeah, I feel like I pull like a ton of horror.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. I read
yeah.
DC Horror Presents.
I don't typically pick up like the anthology stuff from DC
Yeah.
or Marvel. But yeah,
Sometimes it
I heard that
works.
one was pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all right, but
Right. That's how I feel. Like I feel like I pick them up a couple times. I'm like, yeah, that was okay. But I don't know if I would spend the $6 again or whatever.
right. I think
Yeah.
the ongoing horror stuff, like Blade, if you can consider Blade horror, like I like that type of stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Um, you know. I looked it up, by the way. Ghost Machine has a sub imprint called Family Odysseys. That's
Okay,
their
so that's
family
underneath.
friendly one.
Yeah.
Um, well, is it family friendly or is it just not adult? I don't know, because
I'm not sure. Does that I know they're doing like a it's called like the Rockefellers. Does
yeah,
that
the
fall under
Rocket
that?
Fellers. Yeah, the Rocket Fellers.
Yeah.
It's a family. The premise is, and I'm looking just this up online.
Like an
Fam-
adventure.
yeah, they're in witness protection program from the future, so they sent them back to the past.
Gotcha. Yep.
And so it's like Phil of the Future. Did you ever watch Phil of the Future on Disney Channel?
Classic show, yeah.
It's like that,
Phil,
except I'm assuming
Phil.
somebody's hunting them. So,
Okay.
And then there's Hornsby and Halo, which it says it follows teenagers Hornsby and Halo, a demon and an angel, who swap families in order to maintain the cosmic balance. So,
Okay.
you know, um, an angel and a demon, right? Interesting. All right, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I am reading Redcoat from,
Redcoat's cool, yeah.
I couldn't get into some of the other stuff.
For me, Geiger's like my main. Geiger's like
Really?
my main dude over there. Yeah,
Is it
I've
good?
dude, Geiger's so sick. I'm a fan of. I don't know if you've ever played the game Fallout New Vegas. Um, I'm just a big fan of like the post-apocalyptic kind of vibe. So this takes place out west, like in the Las Vegas area. So there's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like I mean, he's the glowing man, and he's got these rods of like carbon. He pulls out like a scrum of sticks,
Mm,
and he like shoots like nuclear blasts on people.
okay.
And he's like traveling the wasteland trying to find like a cure, because he
Oh,
he
so it
got
is
like the
very
powers
Fallout.
from
Yeah.
a yeah, he got like the powers from the bomb dropping or whatever. And he's joined by a two-headed like German Shepherd,
Mm,
um, and they're also joined by a zebra with three eyes at this point. You have Nate, the Nuclear Knight. He's kind of like the sidekick, goofy guy.
oh,
Um, I think it's sick. I'm just a big fan of post-apocalyptic stuff. So Geiger's always going to be something on my pull.
okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right.
I got to catch up on Redcoat. I'm a couple issues behind on that.
I like Redcoat. It's
Yeah,
it's
I
fun.
like alternate history stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I mean, well, Redcoat's setting it up that it's not supposed to be alternate history, right? Like
right,
it's
right, right.
supposed to be the stuff you didn't know and like the fantastical stuff. Like history
Right.
isn't what you thought it was.
Exactly. I'm a fan of stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
a good example, like Department of Truth. I mean,
Mm,
we're talking about horror too, like Department of Truth, but also kind of that alternate history sort of
yeah.
take. But yeah,
Yeah. Um okay. I think Redcoat could be a show also. It could
Redcoat
be,
could, yeah, for
yeah,
sure, for sure.
could be really, really a fun one. Um I also read, so yeah, it happened on Hyde Street Devour. I read there's two books that Mark Miller has because he moved Miller World over to
Yeah.
Dark Horse, and it used to be Image. I am reading Nightclub, and the thing that Mark Miller likes to do is he likes to treat his comics like BBC treats their TV shows. So like they, like The Office in England, their Office, they're called series, not seasons. And
Okay.
it's like each season is its own story, and they kind of like technically it's a sequel, in a way, right?
Okay.
Like the so anyway, he does a lot of sequels to, instead of like just having an ongoing, it's like 6 issues, it starts and it ends, and then the next one gets numbered with a 2 or a 3. So this is
Right.
a Nightclub 2, issue number 3. And it just has to do with 3 teenagers who get vampire powers and fight crime, essentially.
Okay, cool.
And then there's evil vampires. And so it's superhero meets coming of age meets vampires, right? So this one's cool. There's some twists and turns in it. It's fun. This one's fun.
Nice.
And then there's Magic Order, the Magic Order 5, issue number 2, where they do something at the end of the first issue that I'm glad ends in this issue, which is, you see this on a lot of TV shows where it's like the character wakes up and like the life that they had was like all a dream, but you're like, no, it can't be, because that is what the series is, right? So essentially, one of the bad guys wakes up the character where they're like, there's no magic in this world. You just think there is because like you're in an insane asylum. And so like they play that in this issue, and then it ends. So luckily they don't like draw it out for too long.
Oh,
It's
okay. So
fun.
the series is concluded. That was like the twist.
No, 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 no. What I'm trying to say
Okay.
is that like they did this in an episode of Smallville where Clark Kent wakes up in an insane asylum, and they're like,
Yeah.
"You don't have powers. You're not a Kryptonian. That'd be weird."
So it's
Like,
like a reality show, but it's gonna turn out to be
but it turns out to be fake, and you have to get back to, you have to figure out what's wrong, right? So that's what
yeah.
this issue was.
Gotcha.
I thought it's fun. I like those. Um, Now we got to pick up speed. What do we got? What do we? Oh, Action Comics 1073. Are you liking this weekly scheduling of Action Comics?
At the start I wasn't too. I will say like this issue 1073 was drawing me in a little more. But at the start I was a little disappointed with Mark Wade, with what he was doing. Um, I guess it didn't like hook me right away. And maybe a lot has to do with the art. I'll be honest with you. It's not my favorite
Yeah.
kind of art style.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I think the art's
but I
really
think
crisp though.
yeah, it's yeah. By this issue, I was liking it a little more.
Okay.
I guess my issue for me is like Mark Wade you can tell Mark Wade loves lore and mythology and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's really just like got his toy box and he's just banging around, right? So he's playing a lot of like Phantom Zone stuff. I'm not too familiar with these characters in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
So this issue did a lot to kind of catch me up. Because I wasn't familiar with the main dude, Mon-El. Never even heard of him
Yeah.
before.
We talked about
Um,
him a couple weeks ago. Do you
Gotcha,
want me
yeah.
to tell you what's going on, or do you know?
So I know at this point, yeah,
Okay.
he's like Superman's buddy from back in the day. Sounds like I don't know if that's a reveal in this issue, but
No, I think they
um,
reveal it. So, Mon-El, I'm going to go long story short. He's a Legion of Superheroes character. So he is on the Legion of Superheroes in in the year 3024. It's always 1,000 years from where we are now.
yeah,
So he is that. But what they revealed in past Superman comics is that he came to Earth during modern time, but
yep,
Daxamites are like cousins of Kryptonians, but Daxamites are not weak against kryptonite, they are weak against lead. And the problem is Earth has a lot of lead. So
he
Mon-El,
was like getting poisoned.
yeah, he was slowly being poisoned by Earth. So Superman is like, well, we can't figure out a cure for this. We're going to send you to the
Yeah,
Phantom Zone, and when
so
we
you'll
find a
st
cure to
stasis.
lead poisoning for
Yeah,
him, we're bringing you back. Problem is they don't bring him back until like the year 3000 something, when he joins the Legion of Superheroes in the future. So he's been in the Phantom Zone this whole time, essentially.
gotcha. So yeah, so we're in the Phantom Zone. We're hanging out with Mon-El. They did do like a recap at the start of this one that filled me in on that, so that was
Yeah,
helpful. And yeah, so like I'm having a lot more fun with it now that we're getting it rolling.
yeah,
But definitely at the start I was a little disappointed, but yeah, the weekly is tough though. Weekly is tough to I don't know, 'cause they're packing it in. It has two other stories essentially
yeah,
because they're telling the Superboy and what's his name, Keenan?
Yeah, yeah, Kong Keenan.
Yeah, so they're doing a thing, and then the Supergirl backup, I'm not even sure what the heck's going on with that. The
Mm.
art's really nice to look at, but my eyes are kind of glazed in the back of my head trying to read that backup, I will be honest. But
So I have a opinion like so first things first, I think that a weekly comic book series should be like if you're going to do it weekly, it should be very easy to jump into. Like not lore heavy, or if it is lore heavy, you have to like really bond with these characters, right? So I would have thought Action Comics should be a super family book. I think it's the best way to do it. You do a super family book, you focus on the characters and the likability of the characters. Then wherever they go, whether it's a planet or a phantom zone, you can follow them week to week and it's easy to like jump in, right? If you're just like,
mm,
okay, all you need to know, they're a family. Cool. You know? Detective
I feel
Comics, I
like,
think, should also be the same thing. It should be a Bat family book, but it's
yeah,
not.
I know what you mean because there was one point before they started their whole Superman Superstars
Mm-hmm.
mini initiative that this is kind of falling under. We know where they're getting a bunch of creative teams jumping on and off the Action Comics side. When Philip Kennedy Johnson was still writing it, when Superman came back down to Earth,
Yeah.
there was a big family focus, like you're saying. That was kind
Yeah.
of an aspect I really enjoyed. And it seems, to your point, it seems like they're kind of doing that. But then the last one where you had Gail Simone, it was just a Superman story. It was just a three-issue Superman story.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like, to your point, it hasn't lived up to the kind of promise or the idea that I had when it was first announced. I thought it was going to lean heavier into the family aspects of it, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, and that point about Detective Comics, I've been saying that for a while. I didn't want Ron B's run to end before it was like finished or anything. I wanted him to finish it out, but I was hoping that the new creative team would have gone in a Bat family only one issue's out so far, but it doesn't seem like they are at the start.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Detective Comics run is the one right after Rebirth. No, not was it Rebirth? Yeah, it was Rebirth, right? Where it was Tim Drake was like heading the Bat family. So it was Tim Drake, Cassie, or Cassandra Kane, Batwoman, Clayface, right? You remember that time period?
I didn't read that wrong, but that sounds sick. And I think
Yeah,
that Tim Drake, it makes sense to kind of step him into that role because I feel like Tim Drake is kind of what do we do with him right now,
right.
which
So
is a little
it
sad to
was
see. But
cool, but it was
and
either yeah, I think it was around Rebirth, and that was my favorite run in Detective Comics. It was a Bat Family book, you
and
know.
to your point again, I feel like John Kent over there in the Superman family, he's kind of in a weird spot right now too. Like, what do we do with him? So I think it makes sense to kind of have, Tim Drake and John Kent maybe step up into that can be their title, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And they kind of do things with the Superman family, the Bat family, adventures kind of thing. Where
Yeah.
it's like you're saying, you don't have to jump on, you don't have to you can jump on month to month. You don't have to worry about these 12 issue arc. I mean, that's kind of tough to
Right.
get someone to.
I'm just saying, if you do a weekly series, do a weekly series where you're focusing on five characters at once in a family, because then it can keep your interest and you're buying it week to week because of this like soap opera, right? You got to make it a soap
Right,
opera, not a movie, right?
right.
Because a movie you
I
could
feel you
wait
there.
3 years between movies, right? But soap operas, you get it every day, like on
Yeah.
TV.
Wait, did they announce what they're doing after Mark Waid hops off the title? Did they have like the next creative team announced, or is that kind of up in
I don't
there for
know.
now?
I mean, I could look it
Okay.
up, but let's
Yeah, so
go.
I'd be interested to see like, what's going on after that if they focus more on Superman or the Superman family, like we're saying. But yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear about Uncanny Valley #6.
Okay, so do you know have you
But
heard
we got to
about
keep
this at
things
all
quick
yet?
and like keep things moving just because of time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, this is the Tony Fleece written series, Dave Watcher on the art. Essentially, the series about like the blending of the cartoon world and it's kind of leaking out into our world. So, if you're a fan of like cartoons, this pays a lot of homage to classic cartoon history, Mickey Mouse, classic animation, that sort of thing. So, it's kind of like this guy, this little kid who's half cartoon, it turns out, and the cartoon world's kind of leaking out into our world. So it's an
Hmm.
interesting concept, and the art from Dave Watcher, he kind of like has this very fantastical, you know, classic like Disney art style, like you see there.
Yeah.
But then he has like a realistic art style, so he kind of flips back and forth. It's kind of cool to see the clash of the
Hmm.
different art styles. So yeah, and that's Tony Fleece who did Stray Dogs, so he's been killing it
Yeah.
lately.
I mean, I do love Stray Dogs. I think that Uncanny Valley is not doing itself any service by making the most boring comic covers. Like,
Yeah.
what's the cover of the book that you got? You didn't get the
So
variant cover,
this
right?
one, yeah. So
It's
this
like
is
that doesn't sell it at all.
it's like yeah, I know what you mean. Like once you no, for sure, it doesn't sell it. It's like super meta though. It's kind of like the issue of Fantastic Four where they meet like Jack Kirby or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like very meta, like, like what is a
make that
comic
the
book?
variant cover.
For sure, for
You
sure.
gotta like. I love variant covers and whatever, but like the point is, you see that on a shelf. No, like kids aren't picking it up, and I know it's probably not a
No,
kid's book, but like still, like I wouldn't pick it up. I wouldn't even know what that was.
for sure. It's definitely one of those that's like if it just came out as like a trade, you know what I'm saying? Like if it was just a trade that was out.
Yeah, the
But yeah,
variant covers are way more cartoony and kind of showcase the premise a little bit better.
I got you,
You know,
100%.
you gotta
Yeah,
showcase the
yeah.
premise in your cover, like
I feel you.
you know.
Yeah.
But you okay? You read "Come Find Me," right? Did we talk about this or no?
We haven't, but just very quickly, I mean,
Yeah.
it's an anthology series from anthology one shot from Distillery. I don't know if they're going to be doing more of these. I thought it was pretty cool, but we have a Becky Cloonan story in here that was pretty good. I think that anthologies are weird because it's just like I don't know, not every story is going to hit, but if you are a fan of that Twilight Zone,
Mhm.
there's a twist. Some of these are pretty good that'll stick with you. The art and a lot of these are really cool.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just kind of you get familiar with other different creators that you might not be familiar with otherwise. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um, what did you talk about? Hour of the Wolf.
Yeah, so real quickly, it's a series from Mad Cave. It's part of the Underworld universe they got going on over there, where like each mini series, I guess they're all kind of connected. And you were talking about curses earlier. So this dude is cursed to live between 3 o'clock and 4. So he's like stuck in time, and he
Mm.
kind of each issue maybe he's gonna like be solving a supernatural kind of mystery that happens at the hour of the wolf is the whole thing between 3 and 4. Because I guess the mythological world and our world, that's like the hour where it's supposed to be, things can cross over and that sort of thing. Things get weird in the hour of the wolf.
Okay.
So yeah, just it was an interesting first issue. I don't know if the art's not really my style. Kind of the same issues I was having with the Action Comics. Just that style, not like the super digital kind of style. I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of
Okay.
typically, but yeah, interesting stuff. It was good for Halloween. Good Halloween read.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'll take this segue. Batman: The Last Halloween, The Long Halloween, number two. I don't think much happens in this book. The art, because they're changing an artist every single issue for The Last Halloween. Because R.I.P. Tim Sale, right? And so the art didn't really hit for me, and the story
Who
just
was on
kind
this
of
one? It was
like spins its wheels a little bit. They're trying to set up the fact that like there's a new killer, um, and like I don't know, it's okay, it's fine. I don't know. I liked issue one, and issue two was kind of a letdown from issue one, but I think issue
I
three will be
got
good.
you.
You know,
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of positions, like why even kind of do it almost, but
right? We didn't need it.
right, like how I would want to know how involved Tim Sale was to even justify this coming out. You know what I'm saying? Like was it
Yeah,
almost done? But it turns out each issue they're doing a whole other artist. So maybe did Tim Sale help with the story and then did some covers and then that's
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It is what it is. I'm a big X-Men fan, right? So NYX number four. It takes place in New York. It's the Young Mutants. I thought this issue was actually really good. I thought that Kamala Khan does a really good job in this.
That's right. She's a mutant now. I
They're
forget.
starting to up the stakes a little bit more. Um, I'm trying to read into the socio-political views of the character named Prodigy, because he writes a lot in this, and it shows like parts of his journal. And I'm like, okay, I get what you're going with it, but I'm trying to figure out like, should I be cheering him on or not liking him? I'm not quite sure. So
Hmm.
it is what it is, and I love X-Men, so it is good, but I don't know whether it's new reader good.
Gotcha.
You know, I don't know whether people can hop into it. You know, and then I think the last but not least, no, not, it was Captain America number 14. The cover has Captain America, Spider-Man, and Thor, and I was afraid that maybe it wouldn't be that, but no, it is pretty much a trio team up.
Nice.
Like story arc, maybe at least for this issue, maybe more. But it's Thor, Captain America, Spider-Man teaming up, and like I think that was good, and I read that one. I don't know. There's not much more to it than that.
That Doom cover you just showed is pretty sick.
I've been digging all the Doom variant covers that
Nice.
Marvel's been putting out because they've been building up. Because there's some big Doom event, right?
Yep.
That's coming out. I forget what it's called, but they're building up towards that. So
Yeah.
something to look forward to.
I gotta that's one that I'm gonna start pulling Fantastic Four. Because get ready for that's something I'm excited for. A
Yeah.
Ryan North led event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Ryan North's Fantastic Four run's been really good, so I definitely
Yeah.
think it's worth it. But yeah, I love comics, man, and I'm so happy that you were able to come on here and talk about what you read.
Listen, dude, even if it's a small week, but we gotta make the best of it, man. I think we really did. I think
Yeah.
we read all the comics.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kody, so much for coming on the show. Where can people find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, dude. So you can find me Cody Collects pretty much everywhere. Um, what do I got coming up? I don't know. Just try to post on the YouTube more, you know.
Yeah.
Did like a new comic book day vlog the other day. Um, a big thing coming up is DC Comics is sending me a package, dude.
Yeah, they're sending me that too. I got hit up for the first
Nice.
time. I'm working with
There
DC
you go.
Comics.
Yeah,
Um,
so that'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think about the best way to do that. So that's like the next video I'm gonna put all my work
Tell me
into, I
all your
guess.
best ideas, and I promise I won't copy.
It's interesting. I think I did a video on the compact comics. I'll probably just do
Yeah,
something that it seems like that's how they maybe found me.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I get more opportunities also. So
I know that's what
this
made
is
me
my first
nervous because
time.
in the email they said like, if this one does well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to your takes on it and doing it myself. So
Yeah, yeah.
all
DC's
right, good stuff.
finest.
Yeah.
The new line, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to everybody out there for watching and or listening. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or Audible or Amazon Music or SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there at The Keeg Show. This is Comic Talk. It's just one of the many shows that we do here at the Keeg. Comic Talk's every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about all the comics that came out this week, as we did. But we also have other Keeg-related podcasts, all under the umbrella of the Keeg. You can find us on social media at TikTok and Instagram at the Keeg Show. We're also on, Twitter and X and Threads and Facebook, whatever, at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show, wherever you can find us on social media, at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show, including patreon.com /The Keeg Show if you want to give back to The Keeg. Comicshoplocator.com. Go there. Find a comic shop near you, one that you connect with, one that you vibe with. I got a lot near me, but I know that other states, not necessarily too many comic shops, so find one near you. Support your local comic shops and support your local public libraries. That's also a big thing, They also have comics for you. Check out your comics at your local public library. That's pretty much it. I think that's, I don't think there's anything else that I need to say. Yeah, thank you, Kody. Thank you, everybody out there. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been another episode of Comic Talk, this time for the week of Thursday, October 31st, 2024. Take care, everybody. Kody, say bye.
Bye guys. Read more comics.
super fast. Gotta beat the boss and get the loot, cause it's the king.